Hello, and welcome to today's NinjaTrader Ecosystem webinar event. We have a very special event for you today with Marina of the Trader Chick. I'd like to mention that it is important to understand that there are substantial risks in trading commodity future contracts and forex. You should carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you and will depend on your specific circumstances and financial resources. It is possible to lose all funds deposited with your broker and can even incur losses beyond these amounts. Also, please remember that these training webinars are not a solicitation nor recommendation, but simply educational in nature. This webinar is presented by NinjaTrader LLC, which is the technology company responsible for developing and supporting the NinjaTrader trading software. Brokerage-related questions should be directed to NinjaTrader Brokerage directly at the information provided. The NinjaTrader ecosystem website is home to hundreds of third-party apps and services, all centered around the NinjaTrader platform. With new tools added nearly every day, the NinjaTrader ecosystem is home to hundreds of apps and services. You can quickly and easily find the tools or services you're looking for with a simple keyword search. You'll also find information about upcoming webinars and on-demand video archive. To view event recordings at the link provided. For up-to-date information, be sure to like or follow NinjaTrader Ecosystem on social media at the following links. NinjaTrader is always free for advanced charting strategy, backtesting, and trade simulation. To ensure that you are on the latest version of NinjaTrader and pick up a free live data trial, please visit the following link. You can purchase or lease NinjaTrader at the following link. And if you're just getting started with NinjaTrader, we offer free live training on a daily basis. You can view a schedule of weekly webinars at the following link. We are very excited for this unique event in which Marina of the Trader Chick will discuss how to read the markets with confidence and ease. Thanks again for your attendance today. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome to the NinjaTrader webinar room, Marina. Please take it away, Marina.
Oh my God. Hi. I am excited for you guys to all be here. I am so grateful, first of all, to be part of the NinjaTrader presentation today and to be presenting for you today. And have you guys traded today? I don't know about you guys, but my day, I mean, it was just really boring and back and forth, right? I mean, what a boring day. Yesterday was a nutty day. It was up and away. And today is just kind of like, shoot me now, one of those days. But I guess we all have to have those types of days, right? So it's kind of actually interesting because I want to speak to you more about days like today, which is an actual perfect beginning of a presentation, right? So I am Marina, the Trader Chick, and today I want to talk with you guys about 4 steps to simplify your day trading and to dominate the market under any condition, even conditions like today's. Just boring, choppy, back and forth. And that's me, and that's my little boy, and I just want to say hello. So before we get into the core of everything and what I want to teach you guys today, I have a question for you. Who here actually has fun when you guys trade? I mean, like fun, hooray, you enjoy the whole trading process. You actually really enjoy yourselves when you're trading. Let me know. Okay, I see some people love it and some people not so much. So the thing is, trading is tricky, right? Let me ask you another question, okay? How many of you guys drive a car and or obviously have been in a car? I know it sounds kind of silly, but just roll with it, okay? Because this is really important. Okay, so here's a shocking fact for us, okay? Did you guys know that worldwide there are gazillions of car accidents? Yeah, gazillions is a word that I kind of came up with, but basically quite a lot, right? So here's the thing. Every single day, whenever we get into our cars, we put on the music, we jam it out, we start to dance, we hang out with our kids, we even text and phone, which is horrible, and I'm totally guilty of it. Basically, we get super distracted in cars, and this is actually how I sometimes drive my scooter around, right? Completely distracted all over the place, right? So that kind of is one of those things that I get to do being an expat living in Guatemala. Totally dangerous and stupid, regardless. Now, let me ask you guys this. How many of you guys have lost money in the market? How many of you? Yeah, me too. Unfortunately, I have to admit, I have lost a ton of money at one point. I mean, tons, right? But look at me. I get to hug my kids every day. I get to hang out with my husband. I get to travel. So let me ask you the real question. Why is it that even though we know how dangerous it is driving in a car where there is an actual real life chance of injury and fatality, and we still have a lot of fun when we're driving, right? We still go on road trips, we have fun. But when we trade, and the worst thing that could possibly happen to us is that we can lose some money. Yet we treat it with such deadly seriousness that we lose all the fun of it, right? But don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. You cannot drive a car without having any clue, right? Just hopping in and winging it, right? You actually have to know how to drive a car. You have to know the basics of driving a car, right? Like when I get into my car, I know exactly where my gear shift is. I use a manual, where the accelerator is, the brakes, where the steering wheel is, all right? I know where all of these are. I know where the windshield is. I know where the mirrors are. I know the basics, right? So at the end of the day, trading is so much like driving a car, but without the super crazy risk that is involved, right? I mean, what are we risking? Money, right? Obviously, you do not ever want to trade with money that is going to feed your kids and that is going to pay your rent, right? No, we have to be able to trade with money and know the risk with that money that isn't going to completely derail our lifestyle, right? Which is super important. However, when you get in that car and drive knowing the massive risk, and that is an actual life-changing risk, we still do it, right? But we know the basics of driving a car, so we feel better when we get in the car, right? So with trading, it's the same thing. You have to know the basics of day trading or you will end up crashing, right? That is just the way it is. And after years of learning other people's strategies and following their trade setups without having any idea why I was trading, the trades I was taking, like what I was doing. Basically what I was doing, I was getting into my car, but having somebody else pretty much drive it for me, right? One of those cars that they're trying to do right now, like those self-automatic cars. And I was just kind of going with the flow, not knowing if it was correct or not. And you know what happened? I lost big time. I mean, I lost big time. I remember about 6.5 years ago, I was trading and at this point, I was already trading like 1.5 years and it was just not clicking. And again, I was following somebody else's trade and my ego was just totally playing with me. I would not accept that I was in a wrong trade, that I just chased somebody else's trade. It was horrible, right? And within 5 minutes, and this is no joke, I ended up losing almost $4,000, $3,842, right? Literally in 5 minutes. And this was not my first time in those 2 months, right? And what's craziest of all is that, do you think I stopped after that? No. Instead, I revenge traded for another 2 days. How many of you guys could relate to the revenge trading horrific thing, right? It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible, right? And we do it. Unfortunately, we do it. So basically what I ended up doing was, in car terminology, I totaled my car 2 times in a row. Okay. And that's when I finally and officially had a total breakdown. Okay. I remember laying on the floor in my bedroom, my husband coming in, looking down at me and just like asking me why am I continuing to do this to ourselves, right? So and I just had a total massive breakdown. And all he kept on doing was saying over me, why are you risking our money? Why are you doing this to yourself? And I know this is kind of funny, and I'm a very huge Nacho Libre fan. And I don't know how many of you guys have seen the movie, really recommend it. But there's this one part in the movie where he wants to be a wrestler and he is just sucking at it. And he stands in the church praying and he says, God, why do I love this so much? And yet you made me such a lousy wrestler. And that's what I kept on doing. I kept on saying, why? Why am I so bitten by this trading bug? And I just can't, and I feel like such a lousy trader, right? So I totally was relating to Nacho quite a lot of times. So what happens after a breakdown? Basically, you have 2 things that happen after a breakdown. You could either quit, which I couldn't do it. Or you have a breakthrough. And after my humongous loss, I ended up actually going away for about 2-3 months, right? So after that, I had a breakthrough. I decided, because I couldn't stay away from the charts. I love the market. I love the charts. And the thing is, we traders, even after losing, we know deep down inside that we could do this, right? We know we could do this. So after I lost all that money, I decided to get back to the charts. This time I stripped my charts entirely of all indicators. I used to have like 10 indicators. I was going for these massive targets of 2 to 5 points, which were just not working for me, right? But one thing I noticed was that I never actually learned how to read the basics, right? I never knew I didn't even understand the basics, like support, resistance, divergences, reversal patterns, all of that. And then when I came back, that's what I ended up doing, I studied them for years, right? This became my new obsession, my new passion. Because when I was in different trading rooms and I was saying, people are like, oh, there's a support, there's a resistance, and I was asking, can you guys please explain it to me? And no one was helping. It's as if though we were born with that information. And I never understood it entirely, right? So basically, after going back to the market and just watching it and studying it and reading it, I realized one thing. The market has a very strong language, and I became fluent in that market language. I literally started to read it and listen to it. So now I want to do a quick official intro. So who am I? I am Marina, the trader chick. I am an expat living in Antigua, Guatemala. This is my family. My husband is Guatemalan. I have been now living here for over 10 years. But I originally was born in the USSR, and I was a refugee from the USSR to the US. So I speak Russian fluently. It's my mother tongue. But I grew up in the United States, so I speak English. It's more of my native language to me. It's English. I understand it better and feel better with it in English. And I have actually been an expat now for 18 years in Central America, first in Costa Rica and now 10 years in Guatemala. So I speak Spanish fluently as well. And I don't know if any of you guys have learned a new language in your older years, not when you're a child. There's something about learning a new language, right? Spanish was my new language that I ended up learning. And I see some people speak Russian here. Hi, привет. So one thing with Spanish for me was I learned that in my late 20s is I had to first interpret everything, translate everything in my head. I mean, it was complicated, right? And then one day, guess what? I woke up and I just knew it. I mean, I'm not 100% fluent whatsoever, but I don't translate anymore. I don't spend time thinking of a word that I want to say. No, it just comes to me now, right? And that's what happens. It clicks. And that's the reason why I think I'm actually understanding that the language of the market is similar. It actually has its own specific language and one day it clicked for me, right? So another thing about me, who I am, is that I am a traveler. And for me, travel is not a luxury. It is an absolute necessity. So I had to build a lifestyle that would work around my necessity for travel. And I actually met my husband traveling. So travel has been always very important to me, right? And just another thing is before I started day trading, I was a fitness instructor and I was a travel writer. I was a travel writer actually for me. I have my own website. You guys are welcome to check it out. It still talks about our travels, travelexperta.com. So before I became a day trader, this is what I was doing, right? And day trading happened after I already had my site going on. So now I want to get into the basics of trading, right? And how we can actually have fun in trading the same as when we get into our cars and go for an adventure and a road trip, right? So it's all about the basics. And you could be trading for years and years or just started yesterday. It's just something that we all have to know and revisit over and over again. I don't know if any of you guys heard of a really famous coach from UCLA. He's dead now, but his name is John Wooden, and he's one of the most successful basketball coaches ever. And this guy has taken his team to 10 massive wins, yet every single time, every season, when they get back into the locker room to start a new season, he goes back to the super basics. I'm talking like how to tie your shoe, how to roll up your socks, because it's the basics. Because if your shoe is untied, you are not going to play well. If you do not understand the basics of trading and you're doubting, is this right or I'm not sure, how are you possibly going to be able to trade well? Okay, so I have a gift for you guys. I have a cheat sheet that I use when I am trading. It is 100% free. You could go to makingofaDayTrader.com and just fill it out, and immediately I will send you the PDF. It's going to be a lot of what the presentation is going to be today as well. So please go fill it out. Go and get your free cheat sheet, makingofaDayTrader.com, so that you can have this for your own reference and you could just kind of check it out, right? So market movement and the breakdown of a trend. Let's begin with the super crazy basic. I know this is, I think I just lost you guys for a sec. Hang on a moment. Sorry about that. That was weird. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so let's go here. Okay, so trends. Let's begin with the basic trends. We've got upward trend, sideways trend, downward trend. We all know this, right? And logistically and logically, we understand what they are, right? So upward trend is a pretty cool thing because we normally could go with the momentum. And the same going down. Just a quick little thing. Trading, when I go for shorts, I could probably win more money, making more money if the market is going down as it is when it's going up. Okay, so it's really important when we are day traders. That does not matter at all. Sorry about that. Okay, so sideways trends, and this was today. If you guys open up the market today, you will see a massive sideways trend, and this is unfortunately where the majority of our money gets lost, because we don't actually know when it is beginning or when we are knee deep in it, right? So what is a sideways trend? Basically, it is indecision area, exhaustion pattern, consolidation area, whatever you want to call it. That is a sideways trend. Okay, so just a quick little brief explanation of going long, right? So this is when we're trending up. This is when our pivots, one is going higher than the next, and we are looking to buy low, sell high, right? When we're going for a short, when we're selling, that means we are looking at the market going down. It's a downward trend, and the pivots are lower than the others, right? And what we're doing is we're selling at a higher price and buying at a lower price, right? We're getting in when the price is here, focusing on and understanding that the market is going to go down, and that's what our strategy is, right? So we also have different types of momentums. We have the overall momentum, when the momentum is going all the way up or down, it doesn't matter. And then we have the mini momentums in between, and that shows that if you're a day trader, especially a scalper, which is what I do, I scalp, it's really cool to be able to get in on some quick trades going down. So a scalper is I go in for shorter targets. That's what it is. So quick answer to Eric's question, my time frame, I use 6-10 tick charts. I use tick chart. Ticks are transactions per bar. Okay, so consolidation, areas, and transitions. We need to talk about this because today it was literally one of those days, and it is a trader's worst enemy, and you can learn to spot them and you can learn to avoid them. So let's take a look at exactly what it is, right? It's a slowdown. It's a time of indecision, okay? That means that the market has been going in one direction, and now it's kind of coming to a standstill, right? The buyers and sellers don't really know, like there's indecision, they're not sure what's going on. We as small time traders, retail traders, individual traders, we cannot move the market, right? We just don't have enough pull. So we have to work with what the market is telling us rather than trying to decide what the market is going to do, or what people say, beat the market or predict what the market is going to do. It's absolutely impossible, and we cannot do anything like that. What we can do is we can read what it is telling us, right? So what happens, first of all, we all know trading is such a mental thing, right? It is such a mental activity, it really can mess with your heads. It's what they say is that 20% technique and strategy, 80% mental, right? So the real problem happens when we start to see this kind of behavior, the consolidation area, the sideways movement, is we get antsy. We want to get in. We maybe had some losses. We want to get our money back, whatever. So what happens, right? Our mind starts to play tricks on us. Basically, when, for instance, here, if we're going up, the market's been strong going up all day, and all of a sudden it's coming into this particular behavior. What do? We're looking at it, we're like, oh my God, the market is going to correct itself. I'm looking for a short. Or the market's been going up, it's going to continue going long. I'm looking for a long. But that's not true. It doesn't have to do either one of those things, right? It has to just do what it does. But we as traders, as our job, have to understand what it is going to do. So this is another version of this, right? So here, look, it actually went up a little bit. Because I'm a scalper, I would have been totally stopped out, right? And then it continued down. So we have to understand when you see this kind of behavior, and here I'll show you a little bit later on how I spot them. And I just want to keep on showing you what this looks like, right? You could have consolidations and continue in the same direction. So how do we know this? How do we spot them? Areas. If the market is respecting areas like support and resistance, guess what? So do we. We have to respect areas. So what is a support area? Basically, you have a downward trend, and all of a sudden you've got a floor. The market is just constantly hitting that floor over and over and over again, right? We don't know if it's going to continue. All we know is it's time to stop. Now, you can see I use a couple of indicators. These 3 lines, these are my EMA lines. I use 3 different EMA lines, I put 3 different time frames on the same chart so that I could only use one chart because it makes it very easy and portable. And I use the MACDs, which is right here. I love the MACDs. They are the least lagging indicator that you could find. And when there's divergence going on here, you see, look at these red things and this is straight, this is so not straight. I know the market is going to change direction or completely come to a stop or do something. What I know is I'm sitting out and not touching that market, right? This is what a sideways channeling market looks like. And this is a resistance, right? And when we have channeling markets, we have the support and we have the resistance, right? So here is our resistance area. We have a really strong market headed up and then boom, it's starting to hit a ceiling over and over and over and over again, right? This is a day's worth. Since we are day traders, when it changes this and then revisits this area, we have to respect it and know, wait a second, this is an area that the market really has been respecting. I'm not going to do anything until I have much more confirmation of what it wants us to do, right? So how do we start to identify these different areas, right? We have reversal patterns, and these are my absolute favorite ways to understand when the market is about to do something different than what it is doing. Right here, double bottom, and look at this massive divergence. Beautiful. I love reversal patterns. They're the telltale signs of trading, right? When you have, look at that. Here's another mini double bottom, and we have a divergence. Another double bottom, another divergence. Double bottom, divergence, right? This is when I know I am sitting out of the market. And you know what? It's hard. I totally get when you're just sitting there. It drives you bonkers. You want to do so many things, but you got to do it. You got to just read what the market says. If you're driving in a car and you're seeing a red light, you don't question it, right? So these are those red lights. So here is the pivots. You see how it's going kind of here. Look how much it's going differently here, right? The MACDs are totally losing their strength, okay? So I want to just give you a quick idea of how we use these areas. So here is this resistance area, and we have a massive breakout, okay? So before I go into the breakout areas, I do want to answer some of your questions because there's quite a lot of questions going on here. So I use the 610 tick chart. That means each bar, it is like a volume in bar. So it's 610 transactions per bar. So I see the amount of transactions happening. My EMA lines, I use the 52 period one, I use the 20 period, and I use the 135 period EMA lines, all right? So divergences is what I showed you guys before, where the pivots are going in one direction here, and then massive divergence going on here with the MACDs, all right? Excuse me. Okay. Okay, so now let's talk about breakouts. Let's put this all kind of together, right? Because I really want you guys to understand how I use this for my trading, right? And this is, I've simplified it. My goal has become to totally simplify it, right? So I'm curious, how many of you guys trade with your trading station looking like this? Completely maddening, right? I mean, it would drive me absolutely bonkers. Totally bonkers, right? I wouldn't even be able to totally would drive all my anxiety to like an ultimate high. And we already have enough anxieties going on, right? So we have to minimize it. This is what my trading station looks like. It's on my Mac, well, now I use a PC. I just started using a PC. It's easier with NinjaTrader. But I use one computer and I absolutely love having it all right there for me. I use one chart because trading can be simple, and most importantly of all, it can be fun, right? It's super fun. Okay, and these are my indicators once again. So here, the red line is my 52, which is the year EMA period line. Then I have the 20, and then I have the 135. And these are my MACDs, right? They are awesome. Again, if you guys want to have my presentation, all of this tutorial, just go to makingofadaytrader.com, makingofadaytrader.com, and I will send it to you immediately. And if you have questions, I am always here to answer your questions. Please, you could just email me right from there, or thetraderchick@gmail.com. Okay, so please, you could get all of this information sent directly to you. Okay, I now want to show you how I put this all together so that you guys understand just a quick glimpse of how I use what I just showed you. Okay, so like I said, I have these three indicators. I have the MACDs. These lines that I drew here, they are strictly for me. Whenever I see the MACDs hitting this, that means there's enough strength in the market. Because when you're in the live market, our mental, emotional mindset is completely nuts, right? So we don't want to be doubting or questioning. And boom, okay, I know if it hit this, I'm good. Now, what is a breakout? Let me show you. Sorry, a breakout is, for instance, if you're going north, and all of a sudden, and you have to go north to your destination, all of a sudden there's a detour and you have to go east. And then boom, you open up the road and you're driving north again. That's the breakout, right? So basically it's continuing in the same direction. And here it is. So look at that massive, beautiful spacing. So this is how I start to focus and notice the different setups, right? Again, there's so much more to it, and you have to have a very strong strategy. I'm just showing you how I use these sideways markets because they can be useful. You just don't want to be in them. It's that indication of the confirmation when it is happening, okay? So I also want to show you another thing that I use. It's called the initial reaction trade setup. Now, again, you could look at all these divergences. I mean, the market is telling me that something is about to happen. And then all of a sudden, boom, it breaks through. Look at this massive, beautiful move. I'm hitting these two lines. I know that there's super strength, and it's hidden off my EMA lines. So yes, this is all on the ES. I only trade the E minis, okay? So I want to explain to you how I use my EMA lines. Basically, imagine yourself as an archer. Okay, now if you have, archery where they shoot arrow into a target, into a bullseye, they don't just walk around aimlessly on a field, right? What do? They have a place to stand and they shoot their arrow from that place to their target. These are my places right here. I only use these two for actual shooting, and this is a good gauge for me. And I only have one target I go for all the time. Since I'm a scalper, I go for 1 point, which is this grid box right here. So that's what I look for, right? That's where I shoot. Okay. Again, I use only the 610 tick chart. That is my time frame. So I don't use 2-minute or 5-minute, because for me, looking at the bars, which has the 610 transactions happening at once, I have the volume happening at the same time. It is probably, to me, the most, no, I said a 610 tick chart. Okay, there's 6 ticks, it'll be horrible. It'll be very, very fast, and it'll be just too confusing. So it is in real time, right? If you're watching 610 transactions happening, you know how quickly the volatility, you see how much movement, how much action is going on, right? So to me, it's the most real time, and it cuts out the volume indicator, meaning that I have a less to look at, right? And the less I look at, the more I could focus, right? Okay, again, so we have this strong resistance area, and we have a support area, right? And then boom, it goes through. I see that confirmation. And and then boom, I'm in. Look at that, there's barely any retracement. I have a gorgeous setup, a gorgeous spacing. That means that the MACDs are showing me a lot of confirmation that it is going to continue in that direction. And that's really all we look for, is the probability of it continuing in the direction that we are focusing on, that our strategy is talking to us, right, about. And that is the most important thing. Again, please remember, makingofadaytrader.com. You could get this information, and if you have questions, you could email me directly. I know that there's we don't have a lot of time for me to be able to help you all individually. So please email me. I really love helping you guys. My goal is literally just to see you guys get better, right? And understand what you're doing, and not just to go in whenever. So makingofadaytrader.com. Okay, so I mentioned before that I trade the ES minis, and this is something that I love the E-minis for several reasons, right? One, if you're trading stocks at this point, you have to have an account with about $25,000, right? So if you have, with the E-minis, I think now you really only need to start with about $1,000, and then we have the micro minis, which is, I think you need to only start with like $500, right? So also the E-minis, you do not need to put in all that research time. You could go much faster with it, simply because it's 100% technicals. We do not need to know what is happening with the company at that moment, because we're looking at 500 different companies, an index of 500 different companies at once, right? We also don't, with the E-minis, for me in particular, I use 2 indicators. So for me, it's super simplified. But when you have stocks, or even if you're using different options or whatnot, you have to have many more monitors, and I personally don't enjoy doing that, right? With the stocks also, you have to put in so many hours of researching, understanding what's going on, who's the new CEO, what happened, all the drama that goes with it. But with the E-minis, I find that you don't need any of that. You have to obviously know when the news is going on so that you don't get in. You could do that with forexfactory.com or .org, I can't remember right now. So you could just sit down and understand exactly what's happening within 5 to 10 minutes of what you're doing. And I can only physically trade for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Why? Because it's deliberate trading. Because when you are in the moment constantly, your mind can only handle so much. And I am a scalper. I know that a lot of you guys are asking about the stop and the loss and the target. So I'm a scalper. I literally do 1 to 1 point Target 1 point stop. My trades usually last between 3 to 15 minutes. I do look for the smaller profits because I just want to get those hits of confidence. It's about the confidence, right? This is something I really want to touch upon, is our emotional capital. And I know you guys know what I mean with probably without understanding the words. When we sit and we are taking the wrong trades, and not because they're wrong, but because we're, you know, in the stress mode, or we're making the wrong decisions, or we're getting anxious, or we're revenge trading, or we're chasing trades, what happens to us? We start to really berate ourselves, put ourselves down, get pissed off at ourselves. How could I do this again? Our emotional capital gets drained, and we're in the negatives, right? And when we close our charts and continue with our lives, that flows over to the way we speak to our spouse, our children, our dogs, our friends. Okay, so the reason how I discovered scalping without even knowing about scalping, I didn't even realize it was such a strategy, but I realized that if I only go for the smaller targets, I hit those targets much quicker. And my confidence level, my emotional capital started to build up again, right? So when I did have a loss, and you will, it's just the way it is, you won't be as negative because your emotional capital is overflowing because you're taking other positive trades, right? And that's really what is the most important thing. And that's why I personally love being a scalper. I love it, right? Working with my strategy that I use, and I know it, like I know when I get in the car, I know when there's a stop signal, I know what has to be done, and that's why I have that discipline to sit through. And trust me, it gets hard. Like days like today, it's really, really hard. So again, guys, makingofadaytrader.com. I see that for some people it's not working. You could just go to thetraderchick.com and sign up there, or you could email me at thetraderchick@gmail.com, or you could contact me at any of these, Instagram, Facebook, any of these works just the same. Okay, so please, if you guys want to have this tutorial, I'm happy to talk to you guys and send it over to you. Okay, I have a few minutes that I have a few questions. All right, so I don't know if you guys were able to get all of my information here. So first I'm gonna do, okay, so making of a day trader, or you guys could contact me either way like that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Marina. I'd like to give a special thank you, obviously, to Marina of Trader Chick for a great presentation. Everyone in attendance here today will receive an on-demand recording of today's event. Please keep an eye out for that email. NinjaTrader ecosystem is pleased to sponsor these weekly vendor events as a value-added service for our clients. If you find value in these events, we hope you will attend them on a regular basis. You can view upcoming, I apologize, where's the chat box? You can view upcoming and past webinars at the link provided. Let me go ahead and put that in. We'd also like to remind you that the information provided was that of Trader Chick and not of NinjaTrader. All information was for educational purposes and should not be construed as trading advice. Again, we appreciate the time you spent with us. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope to see you in future webinars. Happy trading from all of us at NinjaTrader Ecosystem. And again, thank you so much, Marina.
Thank you, everybody. Bye, and have a super great night. And thank you for having me.